How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of
the Bride of Frankenstein. She's alive! Alive!
A monster created from cadavers out of rifled graves. A tale that sent my blood into icy creeps.
Would you like to hear what happened after that?
Well, we've warned you.
You've been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the Universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute.
Something like that.
I'm Bill Evenson.
And I'm sleep deprived, and
Are you?
Yeah, I got about 3 hours sleep last
Oh, that's not good.
So
You know what?
This will be interesting.
I am on prednisone. Do you remember this?
Yes.
I'm on it again.
You're back on it?
And I am a mess.
Okay,
This is
good.
going to be
So
the
this will
best
be
ever. We have the best episode ever.
Excellent. I'm Tom Lang, and you join us for minute 71 of Bride of Frankenstein. And according to the last episode, this is a movie that Bill hates.
Is that what I said?
No, but you pretty much trashed it.
7 minutes, just that minute, or the
Yeah,
movie?
No,
Or the genre?
The movie.
Or the podcast?
Well, that goes without saying.
Yeah, it kind of does.
No, you said something to the effect that it doesn't belong in the series, and you could
No.
you could take it out and not miss it. And it's
Very true.
No,
And that's
I disagree
this minute in
completely.
particular provides nothing to the series. You could take it out and lose nothing.
I think you lose a lot.
Well, it's good. It's enjoyable. It's
I think it's the series that suffers because it
Okay.
doesn't follow this path.
I'm on board with that. We're doing this in person, folks. This
Yeah,
is,
we
this is
should
like a
mention
weird.
that. Yeah, this is a weird.
we've
We don't
reached a
even know how to
weird-
do this anymore. It's been so
Yeah,
long.
if it sounds odd, it's because we're talking like people do when they're in the same room.
Yeah, so there won't be. I'll say a joke, and there won't be a minute and a half lag. And I feel all hurt that it didn't get out.
He played Ray. That's the one. Okay.
You join us for minute 71. As the minute starts, the bride slumps her head down. There's a little, I guess, glissade, I think it's called, in the music as she does so.
Oh.
The,
Yeah, and I like it.
Yeah?
I just wanted to say, because I've been critical of that too, the music
Yeah.
being a little
Yeah,
heavy-handed.
you hate this movie, don't
I
you?
hate
You
this
just
movie,
hate
but
the fucking movie.
here it works perfectly.
So what makes this moment then different in the music, doing that versus other times where you don't like it and you think it's too much? Or
It's a really good
what
question because-
what differentiates that?
It's a really good question because I'm not sure I know the answer because it's not bombastic, maybe.
Okay.
But that's no kind of answer.
Okay, I think you criticize like the music of the kites going up into the air, and I don't think that's bombastic either.
Well, it's loud and it's over the top. This seems
Show
a
me
little
one
more subtle.
John Williams score that's not over the top from the beginning to the end. Maybe Jaws.
Well, okay, now you've said Jaws, so that's all I can think of. It's a good one, right?
Oh, it's a great score.
Okay.
But show me one other than that: a Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
I can't have this
anything
in front of me. It's driving me
that's-
crazy.
Oh, sorry. That's not. All right, I'll drive.
Okay.
That's not over the top like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
That's what movie scoring does.
I suppose.
That's its job.
Yeah. Well, and it works great here for
Right.
sure.
Okay.
You know what I think it is? It isn't over the top here. It isn't over the top here. That's what it is. Over the top would be that like a slide whistle.
The score
As their head goes down.
This doesn't have a slide whistle in the whole 75 minutes of the movie.
That's why I'm saying it's a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're back.
But I don't know. There's no harp either, right?
There's
In this
harps, not in this part, but
That's the part I don't like.
you
is
don't like
those
the harps. Okay. So you're just anti-harp altogether.
And slide whistle. Those are my two least
The
favorite
slide
instruments.
whistle has its place.
In a Frankenstein
Not
movie?
in a Frankenstein movie, but it has its place in Looney Tunes or Tom and Jerry.
Exactly.
Pretorius and Henry guide her head back into the little cradle, whatever thing, the headrest.
Yeah.
And then they do we talked about them before, those little discs that are on the levers that flip back. It's a nice thing. It's a tick, 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 tick.
I love that we're going lever, but we have to. We
have
have no
to.
choice.
Yeah.
This movie is full of
Full
levers.
of levers.
Well, I was going to say, she's just got a ton of safety pins. Like, we talked about it a little bit already.
Yeah, she's
just
punk before punk was a
totally
thing.
punk.
Yeah.
And we'll talk probably more about that. Like, the look of her, even in this state, She's already
she's
sort
already
of a
sort of
little,
proto-punk, yeah.
iconic proto-punk.
Yeah. I know.
And she
that.
really is.
I wrote that somewhere in one of my notes for one of these minutes. That she is sort of proto-punk.
Yeah.
Proto-goth. Certainly, any female monster after this was inspired by this.
Mm-hmm.
The look.
Well, as soon as you said that, all I can think of is Dracula's daughter, 'cause she came right after this.
And she has that sort of gothy, the
I suppose.
pale complexion, the dark
Sure.
eyes, the whole thing. It's sort of
Clive is wearing one glove.
Yeah,
In
I
both the
noticed that.
close-up and the
And
wide.
yeah,
So it's
so
like
it's
there's
consistent.
continuity there.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
saw
the
that too.
continuity. Yeah.
Those old rubber gloves from these 30s movies too look really cool.
They do.
Sort of have a sinister look to them.
That's really
And
true.
They're what doctors wore. I'm sure they're just the standard what a latex or a nitrile glove now.
Yeah.
But they really have sort of a metropolis-y sort of flavor to them or something.
A few weeks ago I talked about that Saturday Night Live sketch with the
Right.
bride in it or whatever. I can picture he probably had those kind of gloves on. It's the kind of thing you would put on to signify that you're a mad scientist.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's wearing those.
Each iteration of the script, the Egremont, the Dreadstone, describe her appearance differently.
Really?
Did you notice that?
I did not. This is fantastic.
First of all, Egremont implies that she's nude throughout. At one point, Henry takes her off somewhere to get her dressed, which I think is really an interesting thing for a book from 1936.
Yeah.
And like the monster touches her bare thigh and things like that. It's really,
That is interesting.
I don't know if he was getting his jollies right in this or.
Yeah, I guess I think so.
That's my takeaway.
I think, you got to think someone watching this movie and then writing that is like, well, that was a pretty good movie, but
if it had,
really should have been nude.
Naked,
It's like more of a weird science angle. If you're going to make a lady, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. There is, I reference it later, Gods and Monsters. There's a line about that as well.
What?
What she's wearing and how she looks.
Okay.
The script says, her hair, though curled close to the head, hangs straight and dark at either side.
Yep, exactly like in the movie.
Yes. Curled close to her head and straight
And
at the same
hangs-
time. Hangs to the side.
Yeah. No, they decided to go a different angle.
Anything but hanging to the side.
Yes. McQueen mentions Nefertiti in the commentary.
Yes, I've
and I
seen
think
that a
that's
lot,
exactly
or
right.
Nefertiti. I've seen that as well. They're about the same sort of thing.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the same kind of thing?
another queen
Okay.
of Egypt. Ted Kent, the editor, says Whale was responsible for how she looks. The design of it, obviously, then Jack Pierce is responsible for the execution. Another excellent makeup job. The actress Elsa Lanchester, we haven't mentioned yet, was not too fond of him, apparently.
Yes, I've heard that one too. Yeah. He was a prick.
He was kind of a martinet, I think she called him, or
Okay.
you'd show up and you didn't speak to him first, he spoke to you. And
McQueen says that in the commentary too, and I
Yeah.
think my first instinct is to think, could that be a misunderstanding? Like she said good morning to him and he didn't hear her, and then from then on,
she
made
thought
up
she was an asshole.
Yeah, those kind of things. In my life, a lot of people have decided that I'm an asshole, and I assume it's always a misunderstanding.
Not in my case. I just know I know it to be true.
I mean, there are obviously some exceptions.
Yeah.
One of the things I note from here on out, because we're in the end game now.
We got 3 minutes left here.
After this.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
you're
four technically, but
It's impossible to ignore the overt theatricality. This is
the
a
way
very
it's- the way it's
theatrical.
staged, the way they're
Yeah.
posed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's a very theatrical movie. It's not
Right.
natural.
Which I suppose falls into why you think it doesn't fit with the rest of the series as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next film is theatrical or cinematic in its own way.
Yes.
Differently. But by the time we get to Ghost of Frankenstein in 42, it's very prosaic how they're shot and designed. And, there's none of this grandiose, over the top theatricality to it. They become very standard B studio fare.
Just going to disagree. This is great. We're
Oh,
getting
yeah,
started
no,
early.
Go for it.
Ghost is absolutely that way. But I think we're going to see plenty of prime examples of that not being the case after that. I think House of Dracula is like a acid-fueled nightmare.
Well, it is.
It's fantastic.
It is, but it's not
And-
shot and designed the way that this film is, or
Yes.
the way Frankenstein was, or
Yes,
even
there's a
Son of
difference,
Frankenstein. There's a
definitely.
definite difference to the house style that they adopted in the 40s versus the 30s.
Absolutely. That, as a generality, absolutely true.
Yeah, and that's
Definitely.
what I mean. It's,
Yeah.
it's just visually, they're never going to be as good looking as the first three.
Maybe that'll be the theme that I'll adopt for the next season, for the
Okay.
next 2 years,
Yeah.
is how interesting it is that Son of Frankenstein kicks off that entire
The 40s cycle.
40s cycle, and yet it does have a theatricality and a sense of heightened whatever.
It is different from all the others.
Yeah, and just the look of it has some weird use of negative space.
Well, we'll talk about why that is.
We will talk about why that is?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look forward to that.
Yeah. Stay tuned in about 6-8 weeks.
Yep.
We'll get to that.
Come back in June.
Yep.
Yeah, so like Henry and Pretorius holding out the ends of the dress.
Yes.
You have to kind of do a little bit of mental gymnastics to even explain why that would happen. You know what I mean?
Oh, in real life?
In
Yeah.
real life, yeah.
Well, I think
it all works. It's all fine. There are reasons.
You could say that they're admiring their handiwork.
Yeah. Okay.
For the camera.
Yeah. So it becomes that from now on, right up to the end.
There's tableaus almost, the way they're posed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Posed for the still photographer as well as the film.
Yeah. Whale didn't shoot the rest of this movie by mistake.
No.
Every shot seems
everything
really
is
very specifically set up.
Pretty well designed.
There aren't any fuck-ups. There's not going to be any...
no transparent Carls. There's no
transparent Carls from here on out.
We get the series
Invisible Carl. He played Carl.
We got a series of 3 cuts, like when Karloff's
everything.
monster.
He's
Well,
always
everything.
doing this.
It's a whale thing. Yeah,
It's a whale thing.
The wide, medium, close shots. And now you didn't like for the monsters reveal. Do you think this one is better or?
Okay, so what I have here is there isn't a single shot of this character. We're calling her the bride.
Yeah.
They call her the figure.
The figure in the script,
In the
yeah.
script, which I kind of like.
She's the monster's mate in the credits, but
Yeah.
it's the bride. I mean, any piece of merchandising they've done, it refers to her as the Bride of Frankenstein. And in fact, a character in just seconds also refers to her as the Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay, we'll call her the bride then. There isn't a single shot of her in this movie that I would change in any way whatsoever.
No, that's great. Yeah, she looks.
I certainly can't complain. McQueen even mentions in that series of 3 shots, he says in the commentary that she's got, in one of the shots, she's got some cotton in her mouth to puff up her
out
cheeks. And I don't buy it, actually, but it could be. She looks a little bit, in one angle, just one angle, she looks slightly more puffy in the cheeks. But I don't
I
see
feel like that's more a product of the lighting and the angle
I think so.
than any kind of Marlon Brando Godfather thing.
Yeah, it's not a Godfather thing.
Yeah. She's great how she acts. She looks around almost like a bird. Just really
It's amazing.
jerky head movements and stuff. And we see in particularly, I think, the 3rd shot, which is the closest one, of course, she talks about Jack Pierce spending hours putting on the scar around her. It goes from one ear around the bottom of her chin and then splits over and under the other ear.
Yeah.
And she said, he spent hours on that, and you can't really tell in the film, and I disagree. You see it a number of times in really nice detail.
If she says that, she might... It is odd that we're at minute 71 of a 75-minute movie, and she's just now entered. So any complaints she might have about how fleeting something appears in the film might be based on that.
Based on that, she's only in 4 minutes of film.
I don't know. How the hell do you complain about something about this? I just don't love very much in this world more than this, right? She's perfect.
Yeah.
She's wrong.
Yeah. I agree.
Those movements you're talking about, I was thinking about this, and it's one of the things that entranced me as a kid watching it on 8mm. This minute, from here on out, I'm going to mention it, I think, a number of times about how I felt about this movie watching it on 8mm. It didn't seem like a real movie. It just seemed completely out there.
Yeah, well, it is completely out there.
And her performance, those shots, her look, the jerky movements, the looking like a bird, all that stuff. It works it was a silent film when I saw it, right?
Oh,
That's
sure.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
you're right.
It didn't have
because
sound
you
on
had the silent one, yeah.
And you remember what it was like to stand up a fucking...
Oh, yeah, put up a screen and set up the projector.
And set up a projector.
It was a chore, yeah.
And well, yes, but I mean, how movies looked. They were jerky. They had a
flicker to them.
Tendency, flicker, and she really this performance really fits into that
fits
very
that,
well.
yeah,
It's like a weirdness that comes from watching an old movie.
Yeah.
And now we have it in HD, and it flows, and it's beautiful, and it's perfect, and she still looks like that.
Yeah. No, she's great.
Yeah.
I think she looks fantastic. Speaking of looking fantastic, there's a great cutaway then to a character that unfortunately we're saying goodbye to forever in a few minutes. Is Dr. Pretorius at a nice up angle. And he's got his hands out in a very theatrical gesture and says, in no uncertain terms, The Bride of Frankenstein.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
I actually have here in my notes, I specifically remember that from the 8mm too.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And being silent.
Oh, then it would cut away to it.
It adds to the theatricality
Sure.
too, because he says it, and then
There's a title card.
It's a title card after that, yeah.
Yeah, because mine was sound. The Bride print I had was sound.
Yeah.
The Frankenstein was silent.
Okay.
That soundbite is indelible in my brain.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite parts of the soundtrack, the score, is the wedding bells that chime in.
Mm-hmm.
You hear her theme, but it's augmented by bells chiming. It's great. It's
I
hilarious.
think at this point, I'm just going to have to walk back anything I've said about the soundtrack because I love it from here on out. I
Yeah.
just love it. I love that too.
Yeah.
It's over now. It's totally over.
It's totally over the top, but it totally fits.
It's perfect.
This whole two men have grown a woman, put a human heart in it,
Yeah.
brought it to life. Yeah, it's over the top.
Yeah, it's okay to be a little bit over the top.
It's okay to be theatrical.
You say grown. I gotta at least refer back to what we talked about a few weeks ago.
The scars.
Why does she have the scars?
Yeah, that's a good question. If they grew her, maybe they
I think there's just more to this process than we need to know.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into the nitty gritty.
No.
They grew her, but the skin didn't grow right.
whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
She's perfect.
She looks great. I only noticed this watching the Blu-ray or something a few years back that the streaks of white through her hair aren't symmetrical. One is higher than the other.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I
I'll have
think
to look for that.
the one on her right side is higher than the one on her left. And she actually talks about it.
Okay.
More close shots of her looking around. And then I looked up on IMDb the trivia for this movie. It says
God,
that...
will you stop doing that for Christ's sake?
I know. Well, I just thought this was funny because it says that Elsa herself was 5'4", which I totally believe,
Okay.
but made to look 7 feet tall. That is total bullshit because she's standing next to two men that are like 6'1".
Yep.
And she's even height if you don't count the hair. Maybe if you count the hair, she's 7, but I
That's
call
one
bullshit.
of those things that I feel like I might have read in one of those really old monster books that we had when we were kids.
one of those that were
I
just
could
so
see
full of
somebody
crap.
saying that full of crap, but also you could see it being sort of inspired by how you perceive the movie.
I suppose.
She's gigantic. She's a gigantic figure in film history.
Oh, she is.
and
There's
she's
no
barely
question.
in the movies.
Yeah, no question. Anytime they do
She
these,
is 7 feet tall, I guess, is what I'm
she's
saying.
10 feet tall.
She's 10 feet tall. On
Yeah,
the
and
silver screen, she's 30 feet
That's
tall.
Exactly. Whenever they do these compilation releases of all these films,
Exactly.
she's on the cover along with Karloff, Lugosi, and Cheney.
Yep.
Gloria Holden doesn't get that distinction.
She ain't 10 feet tall, Gloria.
Nor does
Poor Gloria
Valerie
Holden.
Hobson make the cut.
Nope.
That is not who Pretorius is referring to when he says the Bride of Frankenstein.
No, but I was just, noticing on some of these posters, though.
There she
Valerie
is.
Hobson is
She's fairly prominent. Yeah.
pretty prominent in the. I'm just holding up the cover of the. Yeah, no, you're right. Valerie Hobson doesn't get a toy. You
No.
didn't just buy a Valerie Hobson
No,
at Target the
nope,
other day.
Nope.
I do want to point out that, in my opinion, Thesiger does not come across as this confident Bride of Frankenstein guy in any other shot. He does this, and it's a little bit off. Like, he does that, and then even the next shot they cut to, he looks a little
he's
reticent.
Just more like, he's
Little hesitant.
standing like an old grandmother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and more or less from here on out.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love it. It's
Right,
just
it's
it's part of that overt theatricality that I'm talking about.
And that moment isn't in the script. He doesn't ever say that. It's either something they did on the set.
I like that.
But it's not in the script. It's not in any of the
Is this bugging you? It's
novelizations.
kind of bugging me.
A little bit, thanks.
Oh, but now look at.
That's
Is that
fine.
all right?
Yeah, that's
This is more our speed.
Yeah.
Two nerds sitting in the basement with a fucking single light bulb.
Base. Elsa says, "It's my own hair. I had it lifted from my face all the way around. Then they placed a cage on my head and combed my hair over that cage. Then they put the gray streak hair pieces in afterwards. Her hair is red.
Okay.
I've seen that in color films and stuff. But yet every single toy they put out, it's black. And posters and everything. Her hair is, and I think the red looks better. It looks,
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, because I have model kits that I've painted her red color and
I don't care.
don't care.
I don't think I care.
Well, fuck you then.
It's like the green thing to me. It's academic argument. It's irrelevant. This
guess
is a
so.
black and white movie.
I guess
and
so.
she should be black and white. That's why I like the
Yeah.
black and white toys.
Oh, yeah,
too.
the
I
silver
call them
screen.
toys. Sorry if I offended anyone.
Whatever.
The black
That's
and white
what they are. I mean,
figures.
Let's be honest. That's what they are.
It is what they are.
In-
I think she is amazingly beautiful.
I do
And
too. I think she's gorgeous.
I don't feel that way about Elsa Lanchester overall. She's a giggling needlepoint girl in the beginning,
Yeah.
which is weird because, there's an absolute respect for her that comes from the way the beginning of the movie is put together. And I suppose we should also mention the framing, the staging, the blocking of that beginning of the movie. We're replaying that here. She's got a man on either side.
Yep.
There's a definite attempt to recreate that here.
To bookend, yeah.
They really should have had Clive and Thesiger do the...
They should have. That would have been...
do Shelley and
Byron. That would have
Byron.
been something.
It's clear that's what they're doing when you watch the movie.
Right.
But I don't like her in the beginning. I think she's an awkward, giggling, goofy...
She's 17, so...
Well, she's 37, the actress.
Right, but she's playing a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah, we're agreeing here. She is playing a 17-year-old girl, and she is 37.
Yeah.
And then when you watch her here, she's 37, and I don't want to say this wrong, but 37 for an actress is getting long in the tooth.
It is, unfortunately.
She is gorgeous.
Yes.
She is fantastic. She lights up the screen here.
Where Valerie Hobson was actually 17.
Yeah, exactly.
And playing a 30-year-old, so...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The only thing I really know her from, other than this, is Murder by Death.
Murder by Death, yeah.
And she was 74 in that, playing opposite Estelle Winwood, who was 93. So that's what I love that too, because you watch Murder by Death, and I tell you Elsa Lanchester's 74 and Estelle Winwood's 93. You go, that seems about right.
That's about right.
But in the movie, it's that's obviously there's a joke.
There's
there
a joke about it. If you haven't seen it, do watch it. It is
do watch
very
Murder by
fun,
Death. It's it's completely wildly inappropriate for our age, but I don't dislike anything about it.
I don't think that's to its detriment.
I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
It manages to for me, but then it doesn't offend me, so maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I don't know.
I think it's affectionate, not mean-spirited.
That's very true.
So I think that's why it's not offensive.
Right.
To us. I mean, here's two middle-aged white guys saying this, so take it however you want.
And we might be stretching middle-aged at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
When do we become elderly?
I had dinner with a friend last night, and we compared, hospital visits and aches and pains.
We've had
medications.
I've told you this, right?
Yeah.
That we've had that comment made about our podcast.
We talk
Like,
about
how old are you guys?
Yeah.
Hey, Felicity.
Thanks.
So our notes we seem to have a lot of notes for this one. So I'm just going back to see.
Comfy because I got a lot for the rest of the movie.
All right, you go. It's your turn.
Gods and Monsters. They recreate the shooting of this sequence.
That's right. Yeah.
Where they have her hair black. Because in the film, yes, it's black and white, but if it were black hair, you wouldn't see the detail to it that you do.
Okay.
It's a dark gray, which would be what red hair would photograph as in black and white. I know I'm making a big deal out of
No,
that.
I like it though because it does point out something. It seems to be in line with what you've talked about the Karloff being green. This is something that matters.
Yeah,
it just doesn't matter to me.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's part of.
But it does matter. I shouldn't say that it doesn't matter. It matters in that I want this movie to look beautiful, and whatever they did was perfect.
Right.
They nailed it.
Elsa says that her makeup was basically a pale version of beauty makeup.
Okay.
Whereas Karloff's was sort of the steel blue gray that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And she confirmed that. A couple others have confirmed that throughout the years. Where the green comes from, I just read recently, someone's theory is that when Don Post licensed these to make masks, they didn't want to make a gray, wouldn't be very exciting on the shelf, wouldn't.
Yeah.
So they made the decision to go with green. However, there is a graphic novel version of the next film, which was put out in 1939, and he's fucking green. And that had to have been sanctioned by Universal because it's all stills from the movie that they've sort of turned into this comic book. They sort of drew over them or something, and it's in color, and he's green.
I don't want to anticipate next season too much, but I mean, we've also seen the color footage, and we can go there again.
Right, we'll
I think
get there again.
we will go there again.
Yeah.
What color was he really? He was a little green.
It's a blue.
At least somewhat green.
Well, depends. I mean, because I've seen where they've color corrected the footage to Jack Pierce's flesh tones.
Yes.
Which is what you use when you do and I've said that you can still buy...
Blah, blah. We're going to be talking about this for ages.
Yep. You can still buy the Frankenstein gray makeup color. So, Gods and Monsters.
Again.
The actor playing Ernest Thesiger, playing Dr. Pretorius, says, I gather we not only did her hair, but dressed her. What a couple of queens we are, Colin. And the actor playing Colin Clive looks like I would assume Colin Clive would have looked at that moment, extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, I suppose.
And then Ian McKellen as James Whale says, yes, that's right. A couple of flaming queens. Pretorius is a little bit in love with Dr. Frankenstein, you know. And
That's
I think
cool.
there's a lot to that.
Oh,
I've
absolutely.
been wanting to say something about it since we started, but
Yeah.
I figured wait till this moment because it's the moment they're shooting in the film.
Yeah, I guess I'm glad you waited because, I mean, it's just the whole movie has been like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's absolutely been a component of that. You can read this movie as, you know, up until this moment at least, as Henry resisting some sort of closeted
Yeah.
gay, like he doesn't want to admit that he's...
Well, I think so. We talked about it even in Frankenstein when they're at the pre-wedding reception thing, and his father's like, yeah, here's to a son to the house. And he looks like he would rather think about anything else but that.
Yeah, it's easy
So
to
I
read this as
think
Henry
there's-
not having any interest whatsoever in women.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've talked about this before, but it's Frankenstein. He's creating. He doesn't
does-
want to
he
just
does-
have babies. He
Right.
doesn't want to do it the normal way.
For all we know, he made Wolf that way too. Some Frankenstein never really dealt with.
Oh no!
That's my theory. If you got your Igor theory about the body,
That's
and,
right.
Yeah, I can have mine.
What's the other guy? What's Wolf's brother's name?
Ludwig.
Ludwig.
Ludwig, the other son of Frankenstein.
The second.
Second son of Frankenstein.
Okay, so there's an interesting part. So she starts to fall,
Well, she steps forward.
Yeah.
And then she sort of does like the Tin Man, swaying back and forth a little bit.
and then falls
And
backward.
falls backward into
It's
Pretorius.
interesting you say the Tin Man because I had to do some math. She predates the Tin Man.
Yeah, it's 40
But,
years before, but it's...
What I love about it, well, again, I love everything that happens from here on out. Well, no, okay, there are some things that are weird, but everything having to do with her, just every shot with her in it is perfect. I wouldn't change
Because
anything.
she's gorgeous, yeah.
She, instinctively reaches back to Thesiger, and he looks startled.
Yeah.
because she almost hits him in the face.
Yeah.
and it's just perfect. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, I
it's
know.
so
To
real
the
and
point where-
unreal.
that's it, to the point where I wonder if she actually started to really fall.
Yeah.
Caught herself, and they're like, oh, that looks great.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Or do that again.
Yeah. In the first full shot of her, and then in this shot where she steps forward, but especially as she falls backward, her boots are like, they got to be 18 inches tall.
Oh, really?
You can see them through the folds of the dress a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see. Again, this is why we do this podcast.
Well, I'm glad I could be here for you. Yeah, they got to be 18 inches tall.
That would explain the way she moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't have been easy to walk in those.
No.
They're I mean, as
Karloff's been doing it
Karloff's
for
were-
years.
Yeah, he could do it in his
Old hat,
walk in
old
those boots in
hand.
his sleep.
I don't know why that appeals to me, but Karloff's sleepwalking in big boots. And so one of the things I also note about that when I watch it is for all of the sort of power and theatricality of Thesiger, who in some ways owns this movie.
Yeah,
such
well,
a
he's
gigantic performer.
He has been driving this plot from the beginning.
And he's been driving it in performance. His
Yes.
performance has been a big driving,
Yeah.
big factor in this film up
Right.
until this point. It's gone now. He makes no attempt to upstage her,
No.
and Whale doesn't allow him
Right.
to upstage her
That's
through the
a good
editing or
point.
through
Yeah, that's a
the
good point.
blocking or through anything. And that's where the Bride of Frankenstein stands out to me in these final minutes.
Yes, because it's so different than his behavior in the rest of the
Yeah, he's
sequence.
not.
He
Yeah.
walks around kind of clenching his hands nervously
Yeah.
for the rest of the movie.
Well, and then, like I said, he's startled when she reaches
Yeah.
back, like, "Oh,
Yeah, oh.
I'm here if you need me." Literally, I'm here if you need me as an actor. Like,
True,
this is about you.
Yeah.
You're the star now.
Well, I think he was professional enough to
Yes,
do that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a generous thing that he's doing.
It's generous. It's what a professional actor
Yes.
should do, is
Yes.
realize this is her moment, not mine. Clive does the same thing. He
Yes.
sort of hovers around, but does not take focus away from her. They both let her have this 3 or 4 minute thing to herself.
and not two guys that are shrinking violets.
Yeah, no,
in these
that
movies.
have been known to hold back in their acting before.
I wonder. Yeah, it's weird that we don't get to talk about Bride of Frankenstein for very much longer.
I know,
because
I'm
it's that's one more component that makes this film fucking perfect. That's what this movie needs right now, and especially this minute.
Yeah.
This minute's all about her.
Well,
And-
even in the next minute when
Yeah.
when Boris shows up, he still lets her have the moments too.
Yep.
Yeah, he drives the story from the moment he shows up, but he lets her have the center stage.
And that's why we have what I call toys
Yes.
of her.
Yes.
Is that we are giving this character the appropriate respect and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think respect. Yeah, I don't know what the word would be. Reverence, maybe.
Reverence, I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think.
And
Oh my God. Barbera is trying to get a hold of you.
reverence is really great because we give this character this reverence
Right.
in retrospect.
Just the way we talked
so many
about
years
her.
later. But
Yogi Bear on the phone for you there?
I gotta turn this fucking thing off. But it's phenomenal to think that they did that at the time.
Right.
It's perfect. They nailed it. I mean,
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
everything we've talked about. It's
Yeah.
it's her performance, the jerky movements, the staging,
the makeup, the
Jack
lighting.
Pierce,
Yeah,
everyone
the costume.
bringing everything to it. Elsa herself looking at this really minor role and bringing what she brings to it. And we're going to talk about her for
Wow,
a couple more weeks.
Yeah, we got.
Everything she does is perfect.
Yeah, she's outstanding, and you almost wish she was in it more. But I think it's because it's these little jewels that we get to savor, and it's not over the span of a long time that we appreciate them even more.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
Especially doing this minute by minute. We've
Right.
been talking about this movie for 71 weeks.
Yeah,
and
we're
she's here.
just now talking about the title character.
Yeah. The title character, the monster's mate? Are you
Yes,
talking about the monster's
that's-
mate?
Yeah, that's
Question mark?
She writes herself with their help, and then Henry sort of leads her off, and she follows him almost instinctively, which I believe is a remnant of Elizabeth's heart having been used for her heart.
I feel like I've heard that, like maybe that's in the commentary with McQueen or something
Maybe
too.
that's where I stole it from.
It doesn't, I
know.
don't think it adds anything.
I don't think it adds or detracts, no. But she does this a number of times in the next few minutes.
I guess maybe the only reason why would I say that other than I guess maybe I don't think that. I think there's something about their relationship. There's clearly a relationship there. I love that we're going to overanalyze. We're doing it minute by minute over the course of years, and we're still going to overanalyze. But there is clearly a relationship established between those two characters.
Yes.
In seconds, and I guess I personally want to attribute that to Frankenstein being caring about
He
her.
imparts a feeling of safety, and
Yeah.
is that what you're saying? Sort of almost a fatherly, which
Perfect.
is
That's
basically
exactly
what he is. So yeah, no,
In
I
fact,
could.
we'll talk about this in coming weeks because that's an important part of what's going to happen soon.
Yes. Your father was Frankenstein.
You do mention though, you do make me think in the McQueen commentary, he's very adamant that the Elizabeth's heart thing
This is
was
why-
near considered, sir.
No,
Any of the story
I
conferences.
don't agree.
Again, we're trashing McQueen.
No, we're not.
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Yeah. I think his commentary is one of the best.
Yeah, it is. He's great.
He does, I referred to Dr. X and Mystery of the Wax Museum. He does great commentaries for those on the new Blu-rays that just came out.
But he can't tell his Frank Terry
He
from
does,
his whatever he got. I can't remember. what he
Jack
did.
Curtis from his...
Jack Curtis from his Brian Rains. I don't know anybody's name.
I have to disagree respectfully with him on that.
All right.
Getting back to her going to Henry for protection or comfort or whatever, she never even really acknowledges Pretorius is there, other than when she falls back and puts her arm up or him
Yeah.
to catch. But otherwise, she never pays the slightest bit of attention to him.
I like that you've said that. That is absolutely true. Like I said, every shot that she's in matters to me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'm replaying them in my head while
Yeah,
you're talking.
yeah.
That absolute connection with Henry.
Yeah, I don't believe she
You know,
even...
and Smonster had that too initially.
Initially, yeah, and Henry...
He didn't have a connection with Waldman.
No, he pays no attention to Waldman.
Waldman is standing there
He's,
ready to hit him with
just ready to whack him with a bone or whatever it is.
and he looks, says, I don't care about you. Yeah, I mean,
So,
maybe
yeah,
that's a
it's such a
strength too of these
paternal-
films that I'm underthinking is Clive. Clive does give me the impression that he's somebody trustworthy. I could see doing that, let's say.
Yeah.
I could see being the monster. Why am I always the monster? Why is it so easy for me to identify with,
Hey,
with the
Doc
monsters?
Ivan always makes me Pretorius, so what does that say?
I like it. Yep, we're here in person, Doc.
Yep.
Looking at your work, and I don't see any more cards in your hand. So I'm gonna.
I think we're done.
We are all the usual places. You can tweet us. You can message us on Facebook.
You can show up at our houses. You can,
Every once in a
or
while,
places
I'll
of
even
work.
understand how to see the comments on Facebook.
oh well,
It is such a nightmare, Facebook. I just think Facebook
it's
should be
getting-
illegal.
It's getting worse
So if,
and worse.
like, I posted something on the Frankenstein Minute page, page, then I shared it to the group page.
Right.
And on the group post, you and Dino had a conversation. Then Dino saw the other post, the original post, and said, "Where did our comments go?" And you go,
Yeah.
"I don't know, they disappeared."
Yeah.
It's because Facebook is a fucking nightmare.
It's a mess.
But we're on it. You can do that if you want. Twitter, we're on Instagram. A couple of people see us there. We have an email.
Just don't expect me to reply to it.
We're at frankensteinminute@gmail.com if you want to email us.
I've never looked at that. But you say we get mail every now and then?
No, I don't think we've ever gotten anything. But we have Patreon, and we've gotten messages on that.
That's what you mean.
And we got a great message recently on Patreon, and I've completely forgotten what it was.
Well, you didn't even share it. So
I shared it with you.
Did you?
It was in the last month. It was a woman said that something or other.
Give myself more to
Awful.
edit out.
Is the music playing?
It's been playing for about 20
But listen,
minutes.
go to Patreon. Even if you're not a Patreon, you can probably send us a message there. Join the conversation or whatever people say about
Whatever that
things. We're on MySpace.
That I follow.
You're the only one. They got one follower on MySpace.